Symone Sanders, you're not talking to one of your girlfriends who's recently broken up with her boyfriend. You're talking about the President of the United States. He doesn't just need to get out more, see new people. This is a plan, Johnson. He needs to offer something to the American people that's more interesting than long-winded stories that have no endings. In this video, we're going to look at Symone Sanders and Nancy Pelosi and how the Democrats love to cover for one another, but they do not want to hold each other accountable in order to get things done for the American people, yet they still have the audacity to ask for votes. Here we go, Johnson. Let's get into it. Hang in there. This has a lot of strong points you will want to share with others. Symone Sanders has done everything possible to make herself unlikable to people like me, people with ethics, want to challenge the system, fight the good fight. My wolf pack, people that support that, people who also, with ethics, want to fight the good fight, see corruption in our party, see a system is shit, and want to make that system better. Symone Sanders has been benefiting from her lack of ethics, from her lack of any, rules. Just does whatever she needs to do to get that bag, the money, the dinero, the paycheck to rise. Okay, so she went from Bernie Sanders' campaign to Joe Biden's run to Kamala Harris. Now she's at MSNBC.
You know, Symone, the sense I got, I talked to one very frustrated activist on the voting rights issue, and she said to me, look, there's no way I can ever support the other party. I think the other party doesn't want me to be a member of their party. She goes, but I didn't agree with what that other guy did, but he always seemed to be doing something. And, what she was saying is, it feels like this president is not able to even get small things done. Now, I know that's not true. There's a lot of small things, but she's not hearing it, right? Do you think little incremental progress on voting rights can sort of snap this part of the base out of their doldrums?
Yes, I think incremental progress, which is going to happen. Look, I don't think voting rights is dead. I think that there are a number of different avenues that Democrats in the White House and Republicans, frankly, could employ to get it done. And I think we're seeing some of those proposals trickle out into the press. But look, I think the activists, there are a number of constituencies here, and I think the activists on the ground are an important one. The people that watch television or are plugged in every day are also an important constituency. But also those people that just don't feel like things have gotten better are extremely important. And I think a lot of those folks are reflected here in this poll. But it's my understanding, though, and I think we heard the president say this yesterday, is that he knows what he has to do. He knows what they can do better. You've heard it from the vice president. She said at the end of last year, her biggest regret is that things she learned last year is that she needed to get out of Washington more. And people laughed at, I remember people laughed. I saw some tweets about that. I saw some conservative articles. But the reality is that the president and the vice president are correct. They have to get out and meet the people where they are. Joe Biden, in my opinion, and I might be biased here, is one of the greatest retail politicians currently out there right now, and he knows that, but he has not been able to do that. And I think that the White House is looking for a strategy that allows them to do that, but also under the constraints of COVID, and they obviously haven't found the right mix yet, but, that.
Okay, so Symone Sanders there doing what she does best, talk really fast, and not say anything really of substance. And that's something that will pass the sniff test with most individuals who see through bullshit. Imagine saying that to the average voter who does not pay attention too much, who's working all the time or taking care of kids or taking care of sick relatives or whatever they're doing, living their lives, trying to live indoors, trying to stay indoors, trying to raise their children, their families, or tend to sick relatives, whatever. Okay. Imagine telling them that this voting rights issue is enough, even if you were to get that. For people to be happy about that and say, oh, wow. Forget everything I said. Joe Biden is doing amazingly because he got voting rights from it. Which is pretty much a fight to keep Democrats in power. That's really what it is. It's a fabrication to keep them in power. But even if people did give a shit about that, Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi did not fight for that. Neither did Kamala Harris, really. So that's the first takeaway from what Symone Sanders said. The second thing is she said that Biden made good points. She said that Biden made good points.
Mr. President, but I want to ask you about black voters, one of your most loyal constituencies.
Yep.
I was in Congressman Clyburn's district yesterday in South Carolina. You opened this news conference talking about him. I spoke to a number of black voters who fought to get you elected, and now they feel as though you are not fighting hard enough for them and their priorities. And they told me they see this push on voting rights more as a last-minute PR push than it is a legitimate effort to get legislation passed. So what do you say to these black voters who say that you do not have their backs, as you promised on the campaign trail?
I've had their back. I've had their back my entire career. I've never not had their back. And I started on the voting rights issues long, long ago. That's what got me involved in politics in the first place. And I think part of the problem is, look, there's significant disagreement in every community on whether or not the timing of assertions made by people has been in the most timely way. So I'm sure that there are those who are saying that why didn't Biden push John Lewis bill as hard as he pushed it the last month? Why didn't he push it 6 months ago as hard as he did now? The fact is that there's a timing that is not of one's own choice. It's somewhat dictated by events that are happening in country and around the world and what the focus is. But part of the problem is, as well, I have not been out in the community nearly enough. I've been here an awful lot. I find myself in a situation where I don't get a chance to look people in the eye because of both COVID and things that are happening in Washington, to be able to go out and do the things that I've always been able to do pretty well. Connect with people. Let them take a measure of my sincerity. Let them take a measure of who I am. For example, I mean, as I pointed out in South Carolina, last time when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee, I got the Voting Rights Act extended for 25 years, and I got Strom Thurmond to vote for it. That's what I've been doing my whole career. And so the idea that I didn't either anticipate or because I didn't speak to it as fervently as they want me to earlier. In the meantime, I was spending a lot of time, spent hours and hours and hours.
She's referring to the press conference that we covered on this show where Joe Biden was basically babbling incoherently, not saying anything of substance at all. Going down one street, turning around, backing up, going the other way, down into another dead-end street, turning around, bucking a U, made 3 lefts, and ended up back where he was. And then asked for directions, only to throw the directions in his can and do the same thing all over again. Joe Biden was all over the place, and it made no sense. But Symone Sanders, to her credit, is somehow able to string along enough consonants and vowels to make that seem competent. But it wasn't competent. And to the average voter, it's not enough. I should say that Joe Biden needs to get out and do more of what? Just get out more. Symone Sanders, you're not talking to one of your girlfriends who's recently broken up with her boyfriend. You're talking about the President of the United States. He doesn't just need to get out more, see new people. This motherfucker needs a plan, Johnson. He needs to offer something to the American people that's more interesting than long-winded stories that have no endings. That's not interesting. It's unhelpful. And that's why she gets the big bucks, Johnson. That's why she gets awarded the MSNBC show. That's why she gets jobs. That's why she gets this bright future, because that's what we wanted. This shit. Nonsense. Babble. Lie after lie. Cover, camouflage. And the piece de la resistance. the cherry on top, the grand finish. She said that Joe Biden is one of the greatest retail politicians living today. Retail politicians, meaning he gets a lot of bang for his buck. Meaning he walks into a crowd and he just makes people fall down and go, wow, what an amazing guy. Now, I remember when I was told this by Michael Moore, the great film director. He said the same thing about Joe Biden. He said, Joe Biden is such a likable guy. You just like him when you meet him. So amazing. I didn't know the fuck Michael Moore was talking about at the time when he said it because I never met Joe Biden. And to me, whenever I listened to him talk, I was never very interested. He just went on and on and on and fucking on. But here goes Symone Sanders with the same, this is the ongoing lie. Hey, folks, I don't know if you noticed or not, Joe Biden stutters, sputters, and mutters nothing, okay? He's not talented, he's not gifted, he's not. If he was a comedian, he would bomb every night. He's not an open micer, he's not an in-betweener, he's just a guy that's wrote the 94 crime bill. That was able to get some white guys who were afraid of Barack Hussein Obama to vote for Barack Hussein Obama or to stay home or say, what the hell? That's all it is. And the denial that the Democratic Party is in trouble, it's not going to be helpful for the Democratic Party. So as angry as they get with me for telling them the truth, I'm the one that gives them the opportunity to right the ship. But it's obvious the Democrats do not want to right the ship. They are content on mediocrity, and they think they can win this way. They lose more by getting better than they do by losing. I repeat, the Democrats lose more by getting better than they do by fucking losing. Now, as hard as I've been on Symone Sanders in this segment, just remember, it's not Symone Sanders by herself. No. Symone Sanders has no power. She's just a mouthpiece. She's just been given the talking point. She knows what her lane is, and she stays in her lane to get what? The bag, Johnson. Here goes Nancy Pelosi basically saying the same thing when questioned. Mama Bear.
Very disappointed.
But that says you have some members in the Democratic Party who are really taking on Senators Manchin and Senate. What do you say about those members who are hypercritical of them, taking their position? That's their position. That's how they feel. That's what they think.
No.
Do you think that that's fair to have that sort of criticism leveled on Manchin in terms of this internal party fight?
Well, I think people will say what they're going to say. I have not encouraged that. In fact, I have discouraged it because we are a giant kaleidoscope here, Democrats and Republicans. You never know who's going to be in the design of the next bill. So we have to be respectful. But I've discouraged people from making comments about them. And you maybe hear it more than I do. I just don't hear that much of it anymore.
Do you think that makes it harder maybe to get their vote down the road on this subject or something else?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that they'll do what they believe, and and I'm hopeful they have come to agreement on aspects of the Build Back Better legislation. We may want to have to rename it to something that's even Build Back Better than that kind, whatever we decide to call it. But the fact is that we're a diverse place, from right to left, Democrats to Republicans, within our own parties and the rest, and we have to be respectful. And I don't think there's any upside in Democrats criticizing Democrats.
There it is, Johnson. There it is. Nancy Pelosi does not entertain, nor does she support. In fact, she frowns upon, she discourages people commenting negatively about Manchin and Sinema. That's right. She discourages it. She says, we are a giant kaleidoscope of Democrats and Republicans, even within our own party. I mean, it's basically what she said. We're a giant kaleidoscope. You never know who's going to be aware of what people are going to do. So no, we can't criticize one another here. We don't do that here. We're Democrats. We have free thought. Does that sound like a party that's trying to get done an agenda that's going to help for the people? Does that sound like a party that's trying to get done an agenda that's going to help for the people? Is that remotely sound like someone who's been given a mandate by the people? I mean, they have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And they're just as lackadaisical as flippant. Nancy Pelosi is carrying water for a mansion and cinema. She is. She's carrying water for them. They don't give a rat's ass, Johnson. They don't give a rat's ass. They're not overly concerned. Nancy Pelosi's not overly concerned with what happens here. She's more concerned that decorum, that elitist bullshit, that everyone just is polite. No one step out of line. So look, and she's also showing that she makes those phone calls at the end of the night, at the end of the day. She tells them to fall in line. She tells them, calm down, kids. Don't get emotional about this. Don't go caring too much about this. What are you doing? Why are you worried so much about? Don't go getting upset. Don't go getting passionate about serving your communities, your constituents. We'll do what we can get done, and what we can't get done, we can't get done. What are you worried about? Nancy Pelosi is speaking for her party. So here goes the question, guys. So listen to Nancy Pelosi. Listen to Symone Sanders. Why should we give a shit about cinema and Manchin? Why should we give them any hell? Why should anyone criticize them when the leadership of the Democratic Party refuses to do so? The leadership of the Democratic Party refuses to criticize cinema and Manchin. There you go. You have it right there. They have no interest in holding their own people accountable. They have no interest in whipping the votes within their own party. Just making every excuse for these guys. Whatever. We do what we do. You would think there's not a pandemic. Sounds like a whole different party than the one that was fighting against Trump. They made it seem like this is the most important election of your life. Oh, it's the most important election of your life. And if you don't get out there right now, the whole world's going to end. And it's all your fault, Blackie, if you don't get your black asses out there and vote. Oh, progressives. You progressives, you whiny progressives. Don't you put aside your thoughts about making the world a better place, the country a better place, taking care of your fellow man. You got to get out there and sacrifice it all, because if not, Trump will win. An orange man bad. Oh, he's evil. They have a diverse Democratic Party that's full of also Republicans. What will be, will be. What will be, will be. And all of this grandstanding and anger and passion and exuberance must go away. We are here to do a job, and hey, they pay us by the hour, not by the house. Guys up here working on hard trying to finish these houses. What earthquakes say? Don't work so fast. It's going to give us another roof. That was a good one. Earthquake, my boy. My brother. So it's very clear. It was very clear here. I hope people get this. Hope they get it. With all of my criticism of Donald Trump, It may have just been arrogance, self-satisfaction, or whatever, but I think he would have given a shit if Republicans got in the way of him doing what he wanted to do. But with Biden and Harris, particularly Biden, okay, I'm gonna give this to Biden because he did pick Harris because she is so malleable and adjustable to whatever. She's a chameleon. This is Biden's administration. Biden just doesn't give a shit. He's not married to anything in this party or anything in these bills. He does not give a shit. Now, maybe Donald Trump was a maniacal, self-indulgent asshole, but at least he cared about the shit he cared about. It may have been for all the wrong reasons, but at least he had stuff that he cared about. Do you think Donald Trump would sit by while two senators shit on his plans and stonewalling? No. Do you think Mitch McConnell would have came out if there were two brazen senators holding up the mandate of Donald Trump? I think he would have came out and said, "Oh, guys, come on, we're diverse. We're a diverse set of Republican parties. We are fighting here. We are all together, and we are united, and we are diverse people." No, he wouldn't have. No, he wouldn't have, because Trump would have been on their front lines. He'd have been campaigning in their states, throwing around his weight. He'd have been riling up. He'd be giving speeches right now in front of thousands and thousands of hillbillies and people smoking weed and tailgating, drinking beers with red caps on. And he'd have been roasting their asses. He'd have been roasting the hell out of them. Like who? I don't know, like a Bill Burr. He'd have been Bill Burr in their ass. That's what it would have happened. But it's not happening with Joe Biden because Joe Biden has no core. He's coreless. He also has no seeds like those weird grapes you see at the supermarket. Like, what happened to the seeds? So, folks, you get what you pay for. Donald, it just dawns on me the audacity of an asshole. Look, it was disrespectful and insulting as fuck to have Joe Biden up there telling black people, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Remember that shit? Then you vote for him, and what happens? If you really want me to do something for you, you ain't black. If you want me to actually get off my ass and get some shit done, you ain't black. The party of pretense, pageantry, of acting, of performance, of smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors, Johnson. Smoke and mirrors is what the Democratic Party has. All right.